In the first section of Chapter 7, we're going to take a look at what market research is, and then in Chapter 7, Section 2, we're going to look at this competitive advantage that you should establish in your business. Our objectives for Section 7.1 are to explain why market research is important, consider important factors when targeting a market, and identify market research methods. So what is market research? If you look at this thing called market research, thousands of dollars are spent for data mining purposes to figure out what people want and to convince them what they want to buy. So we look at this market research, which is an organized way to gather this data and analyze information that we need to make these decisions. A market is a group of potential customers. So it's a business, it could be a people market, or it could be a business market. And the important thing is for you to understand that they are willing to purchase and they are able to purchase a particular product or service. I mean, I would really like a new car, and I would really love to have a fancy sports car, but I'm not able to purchase that particular sports car because I don't have the capital to do so. So we look at this thing called the business environment. The business environment refers to any social, economic, or political factors that could impact your business. We're going to talk about this since this just happened in our political atmosphere. As a business owner, you have to be incredibly careful what you are saying, what you are doing. If you look at this headline, how a Trump sign in a neighbor's window ignited a social media storm against a Central PA bakery. What happened was, this is the PA bakery right here. Right next door, there are apartment buildings, and it looks like they are owned by or made by the person that made this building. I don't know whether that it's owned by someone, but they have a tenant over here, and they had a Trump Pence sign in their window, and people were in a brouhaha because they were offended by what was in the window. So as a business owner, you have to be very careful with what your business perceives. So just wanted to point that out as we look at the political environment. So when we're looking at research, you have to think of what could impact your business. These customers are these individuals. They could be consumers or they could be other businesses. And then the competition, when we look at market research, we have to analyze our competitors, and we have to look at the other people that sell services or products similar to ours. And we have to look at our competitive advantage. So when we look at this, we have to really identify what our market is when we want to open up a business. We do this through a number of ways, okay? To figure out your target market, you have to figure out who are you trying to get to purchase your product or buy your service. So that's your target market. And we look at this by taking a look at your customers and taking a look at the types of customers that you have. So we do this thing called profiling a customer, and we try to get a detailed description of our customer based on certain characteristics. First of all, we look at them in terms of they are consumers. They can be B2C, which is a business to consumer company, meaning you're a business that sells directly to a consumer, or you could be a B2B, a business that sells to other businesses. Those are the two types of businesses, two types of customers that we sell to. Anyone that sells something to a business is a business-to-business company. So we look at this in terms of targeting your market, and we break our market into certain segments, and that's just the way to group people so that they have something in common. These are certain ways that you can break your market segment into commonalities. First is demographics. Those demographics are age, income, family size, gender, background, occupation, education, whether they own a home, whether they rent a home. So we look at that certain demographics. The next one is this geographics. You would base your market on where they live. If you opened up a business in the Harrisburg area, then you would want to target that geographical area. The next thing you're looking at are psychological characteristics. How would they feel? What are their attitudes, opinions, beliefs, interests, personality, their lifestyle, and even their political affiliation and personal preferences? Those are called psychographics, the way you're thinking about things. And when you think of products, for some people, when you look at cosmetics, it's important for some people to purchase products that are not tested on animals. So you have to take into consideration those beliefs that certain people have. And then next, we look at the research methods. When you're looking at researching, you have certain information that is readily available at your fingertips through the internet. And we just had one that we filled out information. Every 10 years, the government asks us to fill out a census. So we have two types of research that we can look at. We have the first that's secondary, and then the second that's primary. Secondary data is data that already exists, but it exists for another purpose. So that information that was collected by the census, that tells you how many people are in an area. It may describe their income, it might describe their education, but that data has already been prepared. The good thing about secondary data is it's cheap because it's already out there. Compared to primary data, it's better to use secondary data for doing this general exploration before you start looking at more in-depth data. So these are the sources. The government, like I said, the sentence. There are some websites that you'll look at. Trade groups and journals for your area of interest. Then you have some magazines, and you may have some reports that are listed on the internet. And you also have local community resources. In the Harrisburg area, we have the Harrisburg Capital Region for Economic Development because we want to try and keep businesses in the Pennsylvania, Harrisburg area. The next type of data is this primary data. Primary data is new information that's collected for a particular purpose. That's primary data. There are certain techniques that you can use to get data for the first time. The only thing is that when you are collecting primary data, it is expensive because you're getting that directly from the potential group. So you have to take time to go interview people. These are the ways that you get data. You interview or you perform a survey. You bring a group of people together in a focus group and you ask them questions about a product, or you ask them if they would be happy with a certain service. The next is observations. If you're thinking about starting a business, you may sit in your vehicle and see and count the number of cars that go by that particular location that you're thinking about establishing your business. Then once you gather the data, then you have to evaluate the data. So I ask you, what is the difference between primary data and secondary data? You should know one is gathered for the first time and the other one is already established. I do want to mention this thing called a list rental company. If you want to get information to send to customers, you can buy from a list rental company, and it's a business that sells addresses and names and email addresses. And you can use this to find information about a target market, or you can use it to perform a search on a certain demographic and target that particular market. Okay, now you're going to complete the 7-1 guided reading.